Welcome to the PropCast. My name is Ryan, aka Make a Prop.
And am I supposed to speak now?
Yeah,
you didn't tell me what we were doing.
That's
You just
okay.
said, "Hey, I'm gonna hit record, and then we're gonna do the
That's
thing."
my fault.
And
Do you want me to restart?
No.
Okay.
Have you seen our videos? It is just piss takes of each other. Like our tutorials are essentially me versus you, and then you taking the piss out of what I say.
You're not wrong.
No.
You're not wrong.
I was really worried I was gonna sneeze. Like I've got a sneeze that I can like feel. It's like a storm. Like, you know, when your knees start aching when snow comes or whatever. Yeah, like I feel that in my nose right now for a sneeze.
Oh, trust me, I know that sneeze too well, because I remember, I think it was the NCR tutorial where at one point you sneeze and you actually hurt yourself sneezing.
Like my sneeze is scary. I get it from my mom, I think. Like, I don't know if you can get sneezes from your parents. But
I don't know.
My mom has the most horrendous sneezes. I think I said screams a minute ago. I meant sneezes of all time. And I think I get it from her.
Well, the more you know. So, fun fact, I checked the other day when we were talking about when we were going to sit down and record this. By the way, welcome to episode 3 of the PropCast. The last episode of the PropCast, that being episode 2, featuring our good friend Dane from DFC Props, was released on Star Wars Day 2020. That is May 4th, 2020. It has nearly been 2 years.
Oh my gosh. Well, I know what's funny is we have talked literally every week for the last, since the last one about, hey, let's do another one. Let's do another one.
But I mean, so much has happened in that time. Like, we're still in, the times of pandemic. Like, that hasn't changed. But like if you really think about it, I have moved 3 times. You got married and have a house now. Like, so much has happened.
No, it was, so let's see, since the last one, Emmy and I got married. Then we moved, and then we bought a house, moved again. Almost changed day jobs. Yeah, for those of you who don't know, I still work my day job. I about stopped. But I'm too chicken to do that yet. So yeah, it's been a time. Like the last 2 years has not been easy, especially
it's been crazy.
Like I said, we've said every week, hey, let's record an episode of the podcast. And then when you were Ryan was here for Thanksgiving, American Thanksgiving.
I was going to say in the 2 years now, officially, you are officially confirmed real. We are confirmed real to each other. There was always a thought in the back of my head. For those of you who don't know, I can't remember if I talked about it in the first PropCast. But Liam and I met through Instagram. Like that was how you and I met. And that
you say it right. We met through Match.com.
Liam, I told you, my mother listens to this. You can't say that.
Okay, sorry.
But no, I think we became like best friends virtually, online best friends. And then it just kind of became one of those things where, we took for granted that we were real. So finally, after, again, 2 years of canceling plans, of rescheduling and everything, November 2021, I finally managed to get down there for U.S. Thanksgiving and got to meet you and the fam.
A couple extra pounds.
Yeah. U.S. Thanksgiving is big.
Yeah.
Not to mention, like,
Southern
it wasn't even
U.S. Thanksgiving.
Southern U.S. Thanksgiving was quite big. But I had such a great time. It's great to know that you're not some secret 60-year-old man waiting to kidnap me.
That was the plan, but then
was the plan.
Yeah, it was the original plan. But no, so just real quick to interject while we're here. This episode is brought to you by having no idea what we wanted to initially talk about. Most of this is going to be off script, no plan. It's a lot of it. Again, my whole goal with this was to discuss just creative process, talk about what we're working on, even just the cosplay community, because it's gone through a lot of changes lately as well. Just especially revolving around the pandemic and everything. It's just been the last 2 years has been, if you hear clicking in the background, by the way, hold on, I want to see if Like,
I can't hear any for what it's worth, so you probably can't.
oh, you can't hear that? Okay, cool.
Can't hear any of that.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, no, I'm sitting down in my workshop. Finally, yes, I have a workshop, which is glorious.
It's beautiful.
It's not beautiful. It's a train wreck right now.
It's a heck of a lot better than your previous space.
It was. This is the first workshop I've ever had that I'm not sleeping 10 feet from. So that's a plus. But yeah, no, so this mostly, again, just talking about the creative process, talking about a lot of it. I may use this space to talk about some of the short films that Ryan and I are working on.
Absolutely.
And some of the projects that just, again, it's not supposed to be formal yet, as we are still a fairly new podcast and channel.
I think this is very much just us trying to get back into the swing of things, and more, as you just said, into the swing of things in general, because I think it's easy to call this a podcast, but it also is just a very casual conversation between a couple makers
and hang out.
Exactly. And the idea is to bring on more makers in the future, but it's always going to remain that it's just a conversation between makers, and it's meant to be casual. It's not an interview. So I think that's all we're trying to say, is that, we might go a little off kilter. We're pretty bad for that, where we can go on tangents, but that's the point. That's us. That's who we are. And we're not going to pretend to be who we aren't. So
high school me would beg to differ. But no.
So that being said, projects that we're currently working on. Let's start with that. Liam, what are you? I know you're working on a pretty big project right now that you've been streaming on over at Twitch,
yes,
which is Alva. So why don't you talk a little bit about Alva and the history behind that project?
So Alva, for one, this project has been almost as old as the last PropCast. I had only actually done my personal helmet. And my goal was to finish it, and because the original plan was to go hang out with Ryan and potentially do some proof of concept films. For those of you who are brand new to the page, Ryan and I have this overly ambitious, but we're gonna do our damnedest to make it happen.
It's gonna happen.
Goal to do. Sorry, I was looking at my phone. My wife wants me to play back Words with Friends.
We are working on basically Souls-based short films. Not just Souls, but Souls is our primary goal. For those of you who don't know, in my outside world, when I'm not working on props, I am a cinematographer and editor. So that is kind of where my real passion lies. I love making films, and I adore Souls, Dark Souls, and Soulsborne in general. So Liam and I, from the beginning, he said to me, one day I'd love to make Souls films. And I was like, okay, this should totally happen, because the incredible quality of props, and I'm not trying to be a kiss ass here, but the quality that Liam is able to put out of Souls props is remarkable. And having somebody who's able to do the cinematography side of things, we'll say the technical side of things, and by that I just mean the actual camera side of things, which is kind of where my expertise lies. And then I also have an understanding of props, but Liam's way better, I would say, at the hyper realism. But then also vice versa.
About that when you were here too, is why we make such a good team, is we both have a foundling knowledge. Foundling, that's a Mandalorian term, but you know what, I'm going to stick with that. I committed.
All right.
We have a basic knowledge of each side of what this does. For instance, Ryan's a very accomplished prop maker, but is an amazing cinematographer, photographer, and everything. And of course, I have a basic knowledge of the technical side, or the technology side, not technical.
But same thing. You understand if someone hands you a camera, you know how to use it.
Yeah, but you're significantly better at that aspect of this, and that makes us a good team, because it leads us to have a thorough understanding, being able to critique the other one, even if the other one is not necessarily in the position to do that themselves, but
exactly.
Give proper critique and adjust.
We can have an actual discussion about it, and it's not one of those things where you're listening to somebody who doesn't know what they're talking about try to critique it, because I would say there is very few things that are more frustrating than that, as we've seen all the time from social media, we'll just say, of people.
I will get into that at some point, because I've noticed a massive uptick in people who do stuff like that lately. And what I mean is, I've seen it a lot lately with people post a cosplay or prop or whatever, and then here comes some somebody who is not a maker comes down and, oh, well, it should be like this, or it should be, my thorough understanding of the XYZ and the whatever, you should have done this, that, and the other method. And I'm going to tell you straight up, like, I always try my best to be a really nice person, but that pisses me off more than anything that does. But anywho, back to projects.
Really quickly though, before we go back to projects, I just want to say, like, because again, to clarify, Liam and I have no issue at all with constructive criticism, but there's a big difference. But more specifically, one, I have a rule where I only give constructive criticism when it is asked. You know what I mean? If someone explicitly says, like if Liam messages me a picture of a prop that he's working on and he says, what do you think? How can I improve this? Or what do you think of this paint job or anything like that? Then he's asking me for constructive criticism. I will give it. If he just sends me a picture and he's like, I finished this, then, you know, obviously he and I have a bit of a different relationship where I'll always be honest with him, but like he's not necessarily asking me to say oh, I think this could have been better. And I think that's really, really important, that if somebody's posting a finished prop on their social media page, they're posting it because it's done and they're proud of it or working in progress. And if they don't say, trying to figure this out and I'm not sure, like, don't take it upon yourself to point out what's wrong with it, because they may know it, and, you know, and it might just kind of hurt to hear it. But I just wanted to mention that, like, nothing wrong with constructive criticism, but don't be somebody who assumes that everybody needs constructive criticism. But back to projects, you were talking about Alva. We went on our tangent of short films.
Yeah, no, we're noting for it. Anywho, so Alva, so here we are again, close to 2 years later, and I'm finally at the home stretch. For those of you who aren't new and you've tuned into the live streams at twitch.tv/AshenWarriorProps, come over and we'd love to have you. I end up doing, yeah. But I'm at the home stretch finally for my personal armor set, which I'm extremely thrilled about because I have a lot of other talented creators in my local area that I'm going to have help me do some photo shoots and whatever. And then once again, a lot of you do know that Alva is my favorite story from Souls, besides the main narrative, obviously. And like my favorite character from Souls, I literally have his sigil like tattooed on my left arm. But Alva means a lot to me for a lot of reasons. So I'm busting my ass trying to make sure this comes out one of like a prop that I never want to remake again, because I want it to stand the test of time. Which granted, it can be a detrimental mindset to have, but you know, it's not necessarily a bad one to have. It's just Ryan's born witness to my tangents and my rage, where I'm like, hey, it's not perfect, I have to redo it. So
definitely a little bit obsessive over perfection of details, but I mean, it's the reason, like, let's be real, in the end it is the reason you have gotten to the point where you are. People who say good enough are, and again, don't get me wrong, it's a very fine line, where perfect usually is the enemy of done, but there is a difference between not wanting, you know what I mean, not always challenging yourself, not always saying I can do better, and learning, because that's how you grow. And again, like I said, as far as I'm concerned, especially your Soulsborne props and your foam smithing really is second to none. And you haven't gotten there by starting with your first prop and saying, I did a great job on this, like I don't need to improve, I'll just always do it this way. You know, you talk to other people, you look at your prop and say, like, okay, you know, I might have done this right. How can I improve the weathering here? How can I improve the metallics? Like I remember saying to you that, you know, 2 years ago, we keep going back to 2 years ago, but 2 years ago, you know, when you finished that first Alva,
it was just starting to bend everything over.
But when you finished that first Alva and sent the paint job, you know, I was like, his metallics can't get any better than this. Like, I was like, this is the top notch. And because I remember you saying, what do you think? Is it good? I was like, yeah, it's perfect. And genuinely 150% meaning that. But you, again, you obviously, because of the because later, and I was like, you're just like, no, this is garbage, you know. And 2 years later now, your Alvas, your metallics in general are insane. Like, your foam looks like metal. There's no doubt about it. But I also know you, and so I know that in 2 years, somehow you're going to have improved again, because you're constantly learning, you're constantly challenging yourself. And sure, sometimes I'm like, holy crap, stop being so hard on yourself. You do it for a reason, and it does in the end. It's clearly shown through your growth over the past few years as a prop maker, that it has helped you improve quite a bit. So yeah,
a lot of that is
mentality.
Like, and it's not like I hate talking about myself because I hate sounding like haughty or like conceited. Yeah, but part of that is a mentality that sometimes, granted, I do take too far with myself, but I actually heard Steve say something similar, Steve from SKS Props, that, you know, he, like, when you've reached a peak or you call success, like, that's a peak. I never want to reach my peak, because once you've reached the peak, the only where to go is down.
Yeah.
So I never want to find a peak. I always want to learn. I always want to improve. Granted, that being said, I would like to have some of my stuff and my work be something that I can hold on for years to come and still be proud of, like years down the road, without feeling like it doesn't hold up nowadays. And a lot of that, again, comes down to your mentality of it. Like, there's nothing wrong with striving for perfection, you know, but what's the phrase? You know, shoot for the moon, but be okay landing amongst the stars or whatever.
Exactly.
Don't ever be hard on yourself if you can't originally achieve what you set out to do the first time. Because if you can pick something up and do it perfectly the first time, you're doing yourself a disservice, because at that point you have nowhere to go. Like, that's it. You've plateaued.
I think one of the things that I want to mention as well, when it comes to perfection, and the difference, because there really is two different kinds that we're talking about, in terms of, you know, seeking perfectionism, seeking, you know, just like being satisfied with a project. And so let's talk about realism for a second, which is, you know, there have been many times where Liam and I have been discussing a project. Let's say, you know, he's making a new helmet from Souls, and in the description of the item, let's say it's just a helmet, and in the description it explicitly states that it is an iron helmet, and then the actual helmet itself looks like steel.
It's like polished aluminum.
Like, like aluminum.
We know what helmet we're talking about. Exactly. I mean, I'm gonna sidebar. Look, right, here it comes. You say, all right, no, here it is. So I made Solaire's helmet close to a year and a half ago, and I was like, you know what? My degree is in metalworking. I'm gonna make this look like legitimate iron, because Solaire's helmet is called the Iron Helmet.
It is.
I think it's called something different in Dark Souls 3, but look, the original, and in both games, they look like the Mandalorian's chrome dome. So I took it upon myself to say, oh, well, I'm going to make it look like real iron. So I textured it to look like real iron. I weathered it to be how real iron reacts. It was shiny, but not reflective.
Even in Dark Souls,
like, it's different from like the alvas I did over the summer, where they were like, you could see yourself in them, whereas Solaire's, you're not iron, you should not see yourself in
there shouldn't be that reflection. And so the reason I brought that up is because it is very important to recognize that some things, it is simple, and that's a very based in realism. You know, iron exists, steel exists, texture, this metal exists. So how are you going to base that in reality? But it's also important to realize that there are some things, there are some textures, there are some designs that are simply like physically impossible to emulate. My best example I can give, imagine if somebody decides to build a lightsaber, and then they're immensely frustrated that they can't build the lightsaber to have the blade that it looks exactly like it does in the movies. That's because as of now, you know, that technology, I understand, like there's obviously the YouTube videos where it's people actually using plasma and creating incredible things, but there's no actual, you know, lightsaber blade that you can emulate. So you will never be able to build a perfect prop maker is making realistic compromises. So, you know,
That goes down to myself in a very professional manner. Not to like, I don't ever want to come off as disingenuine or what's the phrase, like hollow. I would like to come across as nice and professional. I heard that. I caught that. But one of the guys, so it was like one of the top comments on the Solaire build, was, who's going to tell this guy that it's actually silver? And in my head, it's one of those things where in the back of your head, you go, well, let me tell you what, jackass, here's how it's going to go down. But you have to understand that some people who are not makers don't understand, who don't have a background in it, don't quite understand. And it's something that we'll get into later when we discuss like the current cosplay community, as people have been more online. And, you know, just because of the way the world is lately, folks have just turned to being online more frequently, and it's led to the cosplay community, from what I've seen anyway, getting somewhat invaded by non-makers who really want to be extremely critical about stuff like that. But again, one like Ryan was saying, leading into artist interpretation, is if it looks like one thing but says another, that is totally your call to figure out how you want to make it.
Yeah, remember, it's your art in the end, and if you're happy with it, if you've made that decision, then that's all that matters. But again, don't get me wrong, I know how difficult it can be facing the internet, you know, like, but again, it is your decision, it's your art. If you were painting a landscape and you looked at the hills you were basing it off of, and they're light green grass, and you use a dark green instead, that's your choice. You chose to do that to tell your story with this prop, to portray what you wanted to portray. It's the exact same thing with 3D art with a prop as well, which is that if you decide that, you know, the description is iron and it looks like aluminum, and you decide, hey, I'm actually going to make this an iron helm, then yeah, people are gonna get up in arms. But honestly, in the end, what matters is that you made that decision and you're happy with it.
Oh yeah. Goes down to, oh yeah, you know what, go ahead.
No, sorry, I apologize for interrupting, but yeah, it's just one of those things where it can be really, really hard. The internet in general nowadays, whether it is about art or anything, voicing any sort of opinion or posting any sort of thing that anybody can form an opinion on, can be really damaging to your mental health. So just, you know, reach a point where, and I think that's where, sorry to cut myself off, but I think that's where it's important to make sure you're a part of the groups and communities that you want to be a part of, not the communities that you think you need to be a part of. There have been so many Facebook groups and things and chats and such that I have been a part of, and I literally only saw negativity. When someone would post something, all it got was criticism, and it wasn't necessarily a prop, these communities, but, you know, someone would post their newest thing and say, hey, this is how I'm feeling, and they'd be like, wow, this is terrible, or wow, you're average, or wow, this really needs work. It's like, cool, I don't see you posting, you know, your incredible stuff that you're comparing it to. You're really not.
There was one of those. Do you remember? It was like in the middle of the summer, or was it the beginning of the summer? I can't remember. But there was one kid, very granted, better start than I had, made a really good. Oh, I forgot what character it was from Star Wars that he made. And you can already see where this is going because it's the Star Wars community. Grant, I love Star Wars. I adore Star Wars. It's one of my favorite franchises.
There's no denying that it has one of the most toxic fan bases in the world. The
community behind Star Wars, especially the Star Wars prop community, is awful.
It is incredibly elitist, first of all, and it's just, oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, like, we're not gonna name names here because we're not looking to call anybody out in particular.
We're not calling anybody out, but you know who I'm talking about.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. But it's very frustrating.
This poor kid had posted it, and he had even said, you know, hey, I just started. I'm like 14. Still, you know, I worked with what I had in my garage, and I kid you not, it was pretty damn good for just starting.
I remember you sending me screenshots. It was incredible.
And the comments were awful. Like some awful stuff was, not everybody can be good at cosplaying, and, you know, What was some of the ones that really got me?
I remember
maybe
there
from
were a
a
couple
different
that literally.
hobby.
I remember there were a few that literally said like it was a good attempt. Like this is how you find out what's not for you. And I was like, what in the heck is that? You know, like that is not acceptable. That's not okay.
It was incredibly frustrating to witness.
And so the reason I brought that up is just to say that like if you're finding that your headspace around now, I'm specifically right now talking about maker communities, but in general, you know, your headspace is brutal. You don't want to post things on social media because, you know, all you're getting is this negative reaction and it's making you hate your own art. Then maybe it's time to consider that you're not in the right groups. And again, in general, like there are some things that you can't do that with. If you just have that on Instagram, like you're just posting on Instagram, obviously that's a little bit different because those are individuals who are able to find your work. But if you're part of Facebook groups or group chats or anything, and all you're getting is belittling and not comments that can help you grow or just encouragement, then maybe consider finding a different group. And on that note, I'm actually going to use that as a really, really, really shameless plug, which is one of those groups is the Discord that Liam and I started, which is the Just Ashen Warrior Props Discord. And again, this is not meant to be a plug for like, oh, come join our Discord, but that's what the point of it is, really.
Join the Discord.
It is a plug.
If you're
join
not
the
in the Discord, you're lame.
But everybody, you know, there's an entire thing dedicated to projects there, and all sorts of different things. It's not just for prop makers; it's for anybody who's just interested in this community. And it's completely
any sort of
free.
art, really. Like
any
we've had some really good like painters come in.
You can be a painter, you can be a photographer, you can be, you know, whatever you want to do, and just come in and chat, you know. And the whole, literally, the very, very first rule, and I know because I wrote them, is be nice and respectful. If someone is rude or disrespectful or any of the things that we've spoken about, they're gone. That's not you that has to leave. That's them. It is supposed to be a safe community for you to share your art. So the link will be in the description to join the Discord if you're interested in that, which you totally should. We would love to see you. But on that note, let's talk a little bit, Liam, if you're okay. Let's talk a little bit about what you've mentioned a few times, which is the state of cosplay at this time as of January 2022. Where's the cosplay community? How has it shifted since May 2020, and where is it at now, and what are we looking at in the future?
Well, I'll tell you what, Steve, we're sitting out here in West. No, you had a newscaster voice for that.
I did have a newscaster voice. I'm sorry.
So yeah, no, I touched on it a little bit, just kind of the state of the cosplay community. And if I ever sound negative during this little segment, I'm not trying to be, because again, I do still firmly believe, and I will always believe it, that the cosplay community is still one of the safest and most positive communities out there. But since the pandemic, there's been a lot of really great creators that are just starting. I've met a lot of great friends, honestly, over the last 2 years. That have just joined the hobby. And it's one of my favorite things to do is talk to new people and see their excitement about joining this community and helping them out, giving them the tools and helping them find the tools they need. It's one of the reasons I like doing free tutorials and free templates, because I love helping new people. But with the new people that come in, the caveat to that is I've seen a lot of negativity come up out of this, and it may be just me, but I've seen so much just pure hatred and just awful actors coming in and out, and a lot of them are not makers. So I don't ever want to sound elitist and say, oh, well, only makers can criticize makers or only makers can talk to other makers. That's not what I'm saying. But I have seen an uptick in the amount of people who are mean on the internet, especially about other makers. Even simple stuff. Again, it's anything massive or totally detrimental to mental health or anything. But I saw one guy do the Black Knight armor from Dark Souls, and one of the comments was, "Oh, the helmet's too big." And I'm like, dude, look. It wasn't an overly negative comment, but all it was helmet is too big. Remember if you play Dark Souls, you see the Black Knight helmet, the characters' heads are pencils.
It's physically impossible proportions.
But it's simple stuff like that I started seeing close to about a year ago. And then as the years gone on, I've seen so much more just outwardly criticism.
I think
From
a lot more of that. A lot of people are spending, people spend a lot of time on the internet regardless, but a lot of people are spending even more time on these pages now. And, we're not going to get into this side of things, but, a lot of people know that with this pandemic, mental health states haven't been great for a lot of people. And I think that's led to a lot of venting and negativity on the internet, that when they see something, instead of being like, oh, that's really really cool, they immediately go like, oh well, like what's something I can point out that's wrong about it, but
it's being a dick for the sake of being a dick.
Yeah, and you should never ever do that. But with that said, to talk about something a bit more positive, the cosplay community, one of the things that I've loved is that with this staying at home and such, is that it's one of the few things that we know conventions have been struggling and things like that, but the prop making side of things, if anything, I'd say has grown because of people finally having the opportunity to have time at home to work on new hobbies and learn new things. Like I for one have started several new hobbies during this time. Before this, I had never touched, like actually properly worked with leather in my life. Now I've worked with leather quite a fair amount. And that's something
we had a really great hat while he was here.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about that. But it was, that's really, really cool.
Good hat. I'm not trying to shame you. It was a great hat.
Oh my God. So
it is a great hat, and I'm keeping it.
I have to explain. Okay, so when I was with Liam and Emily, Liam is a cowboy. If you don't know, if you can't tell from the way he speaks and acts, he actually is a cowboy. And one of the things that he and Emmy both have, Emmy being his lovely wife, is their own leather cowboy hats that they made. And when I was there, I wanted to make leather cowboy hats. I wanted to fit in, and so I think I spent, I don't know, like 6 or 7 hours sewing this hat together, and I ended up sewing the brim. Essentially, I think it's at like a 40-degree angle from where it's supposed to be. It's quite crooked. Instead of it looking like a beautiful cowboy hat, it looks like one of the hats that the Yarnamites wear in Bloodborne. And that was not
keeping it for that reason.
Not intended. Yeah, I know you are. But look, I swear I know how to work with leather. Okay.
To be fair, you were trying to speed run it because we were going to an escape room and we were like, hey, let's wear our cowboy, because the theme of the escape room was runaway train. Yeah. So like, hey, we should wear cowboy hats for it.
Yeah.
So
unfortunately, it didn't quite work out. But going back to what we were saying is that the community has grown quite a bit, which is really, really great. I love to see that. I love seeing new makers of again, whether they're brand new or they have a bunch of experience in something else. Regardless, I love to see this community grow. It makes me so happy. And if you are a relatively new maker and you're looking for help, or you're just looking to join community and make some friends, then you can either, again, like I said, join that Discord, or you can just feel free to comment on either of our Instagram stuffs. Again, Liam's significantly more active on Instagram than I am, I will admit. But again, we love to have that community. We love to chat with people, especially people who are getting started. Liam and I both have a soft spot for teaching, which is why I think it's fair for us to say that we do the tutorials. Even you do. I am, for those of you who don't know, I am the editor, the famed editor, who is constantly battling Liam in the videos. But yeah, I love that the community has grown, and that's a really, really positive thing that I wanted to point out in the past couple years.
Well, but with any time involving more people in anything gives you positive and negative. And like I was saying, with the new makers, there's become like I've met so many wonderful new makers, a lot of them that I've gotten really close to, especially some of them have joined the Discord and are just absolutely amazing starting artists, and I cannot wait to see where they go. To quote Palpatine, I'll be watching your career with great interest. But again, along with that, I've seen a lot of new makers give up immediately because of people again, because there's more people on the internet and more people joining this community, more people that are just chiming in, being an asshole, and it's unwarranted.
I feel like our message in the end here is don't be an asshole. Think before you speak. And if you have nothing, and if you have nothing nice or constructive, like genuinely constructive, and not just this looks bad, then don't say it. So. But moving on to something a little bit more positive. We weren't.
No, I want to be angry. Let me be angry. I want to be angry.
I think that was really important for us to talk about, though. You want to be angry. I don't know. I think it's just important to discuss stuff going forward. So Liam, without going into detail on particular projects, do you have any big goals for the new year? And I don't mean anything like what's your New Year's resolution, but I just mean, do you have a particular project, obviously Alva, but projects that you're working on, or goals for the shop in general, let's just say?
Right now, I really want to get even some proof of concepts, like little shorts shot, because again, I don't consider myself a prop or a cosplayer. I like to grant I'm in that community, but myself, I prefer because again, I want to do storytelling and acting and short films and whatever. So I don't know. Again, I really want to get at least some like footing in some of our films and projects that we've got planned out. As well as my father-in-law were actually talking about it yesterday, and I'm going to start hopefully recording the project probably this week. Actually, it's going to be more like a documentary series of we mapped out the way that we're going to make the Holy Moonlight Sword. And I say Holy Moonlight Sword, I mean any version of the Moonlight Sword from the series. We're still trying to figure out which one that I want to make. But my father-in-law, he's got a bunch of the tools to work with the plexiglass and whatever, because we're going to make the blade out of plexiglass. So that's the Holy Moonlight Sword, or Large Sword of Moonlight, Moonlight Great Sword, whatever. That's my big ambitious technical.
That is
goal.
A very, very big project. So that's
I'm excited.
I think totally doable, but I'm really excited to see where that goes. That's going to be a very big project. It's
going to be more of like a vlog series rather than a tutorial.
Yeah.
Granted, I'm going to tell you how I do the things, but it's one of the reasons I've loved doing Twitch is I'm going to film this in a way that you can watch me mess up. Because I never want to come across that I never make mistakes. Because if you've watched my Twitch, you'll watch me redo something 3 or 4 times before I get it correct. And makers who say they do everything right the first time are full of shit.
Yeah, they're lying. It's not real.
If you're watching this and that's you, I'm calling you out. Be better.
Yeah, exactly. Don't pretend that you picked every single time. If you what's the quote? I have a quote in a book that I read recently, which was learn to fail or fail to learn. And I think that's very, very true.
Wendy's Menu does not count as a book, Ryan.
It's not Wendy's Menu. That was one time, Liam. That was one time. Anyways, no, that's really, really cool. I'm so excited to work on those short film proof of concepts with you, which is really, really cool. I've been learning Unreal Engine for that aspect of things, which is going to be really fun. I'm very excited for that. We have so much content planned for the future, including the PropCast, which if you're enjoying this conversation, this chaotic conversation that we're having, please make sure you subscribe. And if you want to see more, we're going to try and get these out relatively regular. We're not sure how often yet, maybe once a month, maybe more, depending on how much you guys like them. But if you enjoy listening, especially to Liam's voice, then definitely check out his Twitch, because that's really, really where he's going to be.
Actually, as soon as we're done recording this, I will be on Twitch. I'm going to be very frequent with it. As soon as I finish the affiliate with Twitch, I'll be definitely streaming Tuesday, Thursdays, and potentially Saturdays, but definitely Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Yep.
So we'd love to have you out there if you're around.
Once we have a solid, this will be the last time I bring it up, I promise. But once we have a solid schedule, Liam has a solid schedule, that will be immediately posted on the Discord channel. So that's where you can find out the fastest for sure. So moving on, I'll go back to the very first question, which I'll talk about projects that I'm working on right now, on the in between. So Currently, in terms of physical prop projects, I'm working on Mjolnir from
Dad of Boy.
From Dad of Boy, yeah, from the God of War series. Which, if I didn't mention it already, I'm sure I did in the previous podcast.
Your
God of War is
Leviathan
my
Axe.
God of War is my favorite. My favorite
I was
game.
trying to read your mind so hard.
God of War 4 is my favorite. Is my favorite video game, and the new next installment is coming out, Ragnarok. I'm so incredibly excited. I'd already made the Leviathan Axe from it. The Mjolnir was just kind of the obvious next step, and finally, after a couple years of it being hinted at, and finally was released, Jarman Props, who is an incredible maker, released a 3D model for Mjolnir. This is the same person who created the Leviathan Axe model that I used. And so I immediately grabbed it and started printing. I've actually got the last piece on my printer now, printing. This is actually the first prop I've ever made that is completely resin 3D printed. Usually I do just FDM or a mix of FDM and resin. This is entirely resin, which, oh my gosh, I'm so happy with the time I have saved with sanding.
You don't have to sand.
I don't have to sand near as much.
When you told me to get a resin printer, that was like my favorite thing I had. Granted, when I do my 3D printing and modeling, I'm really finicky with it. But I'm very happy with my resin printer. I love it so much.
You need the space. Like, they're a little bit more labor in terms of, like, cleaning up the print after, and it's liquid instead of a plastic, regular plastic. But I've come to absolutely love it, which is amazing. So I'm super excited where that's at. Like I said, I'm printing the last piece now, so I'm hoping to get some dry assembly pictures soon. And then I'm going to have the incredibly fun and terrifying task of painting it, which is going to be great. And then honestly, like, one of the big things is obviously, of course, the short films as well. But I really, like, Liam and I are going to be working really hard in terms of projects, on putting out more content for the YouTube channel, in terms of whether it is tutorials, vlog style videos, or whatever. We just want to start pushing out more content because we both have so much fun, I think, making videos for it. And 2022 is a year where I have a lot more time on my hands to do what I love. And what I love is content creation with Liam and prop making. So that's something that I'm going to be working a lot more on, and I'm very, very excited to work more on that. One of the things. No,
it's going to be fun this year. Yeah. I foresee great things in the future.
I do. One of the things I'm very excited for is getting this PropCast back up and running, because Lord knows you and I already have conversations all the time that are chaotic and hilarious and so much fun. So I'm glad we finally get back to recording those conversations. And I can't wait to have some guests on here to deal with our crap and our insane tangents. It'll be really fun. And with that, I'm spending this podcast mentioning a bunch of things now, so that I don't have to mention them all at the end.
This is the first ever episode, because we're just getting back into this.
Yeah, we're getting back into the swing of things. But with that, I just want to mention, if there's anybody you want us to chat with or hang out with, and if you have any questions for anyone in particular, feel free to either let us know in our Discord or drop a comment on this video and just say who you'd like us to chat with, or let them know. Have them reach out to us. That'd be cool too. Or any questions
you all to blow up Ewan McGregor's Twitter and have him on the podcast.
Oh my God!
Don't do that. Don't be a dick.
Don't do that. Yeah, no. But I think that's going to be a lot of fun. We are looking forward to so much growth in 2022. Both independently and as Ashen Warrior Props Co. So it's going to be a great
year.
It is going to be a good year.
Good year. I've got a lot of props and costumes planned, and with those props and costumes comes potentially content.
Yeah.
We had talked about, we're working and scripting out the Alpha miniseries. We're going to split that into 2 parts. For those of you who don't already know, I'm a giant Dark Souls 2 nerd. I love Dark Souls 2. I may be like, granted, the army of Dark Souls 2 lovers is coming out of the woodwork.
It is growing.
It is. It's a great game. If you say otherwise, you're absolutely lying to yourself.
Well, I'm on the Dark Souls 2 Reddit, and one of the things that I love is one of the most consistent posts that I see is, why do people hate this game? Why do people hate this game? This is like, and just genuinely, like, new players coming and just saying, like, so I really enjoyed this. Is there a reason that people hate it? and
No,
it's
and I
always just
love
that, like, because it was different, you know. But that's I don't know, unpopular, slowly becoming popular opinion question mark.
Yeah, no, for sure. But anyway, we're splitting that into 2 seasons is the current plan. Granted, if you're watching this in the future and the series is already out, come tell me that I was wrong. If it ended up being more or less. But the current goal is to theme the story around the obviously the story of Alva being season 1 being called The Wayfarer and season 2 being called The Seeker of the Spurned, to tell those two very not very different stories, but two timeline different stories. Not timeline different is the wrong word too.
You'll see.
Yeah, you'll see. It's going to be great. It's going to be really fun. We've also, because again, I was trying to get it out of my face, but I couldn't speak it earlier. The soft goal of this is to retell popular NPC stories of Dark Souls in live action. Like one of the other ones we are working on currently is Creighton and Pate from Dark Souls 2, which I'm really excited about that one.
Yeah, that one's going to be so much fun.
That one's going to be a blast to do. We had talked about doing some humorous ones too.
We did, yeah, absolutely. That's just some fun stuff as well. If there's any content you want us to make, let us know. We're open to ideas and to chat about them. Now, the last thing I want to bring up, I shouldn't say bring up. Sorry, the last thing I want to say before, because we got about 15 minutes left in this episode, if even, which was just that. Was there anything in particular, Liam, that you wanted to chat about today that I feel like I've been asking a lot of questions and kind of taking over every time you try to talk, which I have.
Again, we're just getting back into the swing of things, but most of it is again just trying to get the format for how we want to do this stuff, and a lot of that. A lot of this series, I would love to, again, talk about the creative process, talk about the projects that we're working on and the troubles that we're finding ourselves in with it. Especially with right now, a lot of the projects I'm working on, I can't really openly discuss. Currently, I can't.
Have NDAs.
I can't discuss. Yeah, I can't discuss a few of them.
One day, when you can, we will discuss them.
Yeah, I will discuss them when I'm allowed to.
Yes.
But I do, like, I want to talk about, like how I'm taking commissions, how, what parts of this as my job is affecting me and affecting the world around me. I'd love to do, again, just discuss the creative process, and especially for those makers who are getting into this and potentially want to do this as a part-time job or a hobby that makes money, or even a full-time job. I'd love to have stuff in here that is of value to them. Yeah. Especially commissions. Like I have once again, I said, hey, I'm not going to take commissions. I opened my commissions and now I'm booked out till July.
Yeah, that makes sense. You have a habit of doing that.
I do.
I think one of the big things with us, other than obviously NDAs, is Liam and I are very much and Liam in particular, because he does have more experience than I do with the actual like business side of things, I'll say, is just that this is a no holds barred. We're not gonna say not talk about something because we worked hard to learn it, like where you have to figure it out yourself. Like it's no proprietary stuff here. If you have a question, it's free game. Just ask any questions, and if we can help, then we will. We'll talk about everything.
My rule. That's typically my rule with people is as long as I am allowed to answer that question, I'm going to answer your question. I would say
like 9, unless it's like a ridiculously niche question about a niche project that you have an NDA on. Yeah. We can answer questions for the most part. Or at least give opinions.
My favorite thing about my page right now is being at the point that I have no unread messages. I read and respond to all messages, unless it's like a story reply with like the fire or like the 100 emote or emoji or whatever. I reply to everything, especially questions. Like I had easily. This is not your cue to go blow up my DMs if you just want to chit chat, because I'll do my best to chit chat with you, and then I will lose my entire work day because I love chatting with people if they want to chat. But yeah, no, if you ever have questions, drop me a line on any of my social medias. I'll get to it. It may not be the second you message me, but I will get to it.
Yeah, and same goes to me. It may take a little bit longer because I keep myself very, very busy. But any questions you ever have regarding any projects that I worked on or anything, please just reach out. I'm more than happy to chat about anything and everything. With that said, I feel like we should wind down to a close. Yeah, that's a great stopping point. I'm going to reiterate. This is the fun part where I'm going to just reiterate all the links and stuff that we discussed. One, if you're looking for a community to join and hang out with and just really friendly stuff to share projects with and learn in, please join our Discord. We would absolutely love to see you there. We're quite active in it. And so, yeah, we just would love to see you. Two, if you have any topics you'd like us to discuss or guests you'd like to see, please leave a comment and let us know. Or any questions that you have for us in particular. We'll make sure to go through them in the next episode. We'll check the comments on this video. And other than that, check our social media links down below. Instagram, I would say, is probably the best way to get a hold of either of us. And it's where we're most active, I would say, other than the Discord. So for me, that's Instagram.com/make_a_prop. And then Liam's is obviously .com/ashenprops. Links will also all be in the description so that you don't have to type those out by hand. I'm so excited to be back. Yeah, I'm so excited to be back, and I can't wait to record more of these. With that, Liam, I'll let you say the final sign off.
Yeah, no, I will. There is recently I've become affiliated with Blick Arts Materials with an affiliate link. If you'd like to support the page and get the best foam on the market, check out HD Foam over at Blick Arts Materials. You can use my affiliate link down below. That supports the page, helps me keep Ryan fed. And again, helps us out and gets you the best foam on the market. Granted, I loved this foam before I was affiliated with it, not just because I'm friends with the maker of it. Steve from SKS Props is a good buddy of mine. I love the crap out of him, but I love the foam too. Not just because he's my buddy. It's great foam for intros, beginners, professionals. It's the best. It provides the best material to get the best finishes and quality props. So please go check that out if you're interested in getting started with this stuff, or even if you just need a refill and want to support the page.
Best way. With that, thank you so much for listening. We can't wait to talk to you all again in the next one. And Liam, get over to your Twitch and start that live stream.
Yeah, no, twitch.tv/AshenWarriorProps. I'll be there in 2 minutes.
All righty. Talk to you all soon. Take care.